I'm Dustin.
And I'm Steve. Welcome back to the Wedding Photo Hangover podcast, the finest phototainment in the world. We are an irreverent look at photography. This podcast, like aspirin, will help you recover from your wedding hangover. And today we're going to help a little bit more than usual because today we're joined by Natalie Franke from HoneyBook and the Rising Tide Society. Natalie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We are so excited to have
you.
As
well as I can.
Steve's a little depressed over there. Steve's still recovering from
I don't
COVID.
like this quarantine, man.
Yeah.
I don't like this quarantine.
Steve, are you an extrovert? You're an extrovert, yeah?
No.
No?
No.
Not at all.
I am, how do I put this? I enjoy being around other people very, very much. I prefer to be around other people. I do not like, if you put me in a room with people, I'm never going to be the one who speaks the most. But I want to be there and I want to be in the mix. But I'm not outgoing.
Exactly.
I don't like shallow conversations where you just kind of like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? And then you move on to the next person and like you just keep going and going and going. I want to get to know someone, you know? We don't do the podcast because we want to have shallow conversations.
Just the someone.
The one individual.
The one, yes.
The one.
Today, that's you, Natalie.
Oh, gosh. Then I guess I'm in for it because there's no swimming in the shallow end. Y'all are saying we're going deep.
This is the deepest podcast, as I'm sure you know. Let me quickly just introduce you. You are not only an amazing photographer, but you have turned educator. And as Steve mentioned earlier, you are not only the co-founder of the Rising Tide Society, one of, I think, the largest photography societies in the universe, but you're also the head of community for HoneyBook. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah. It is a lot. Well, when you say it like that, I know when you say it like that, I'm like, all right, this is out of control. Yeah, I do a lot of things. My background, and sort of, I always say like by trade, I'm a photographer. I've been doing that since I was a senior in high school, and photography was my way of paying for college. And then after college, I didn't go and get a 9-to-5 job. I just went into a business that I was already at that point basically running full time. So that's sort of like my roots are in photography, which is what led to everything else. Everything else kind of grew from that. And it's been kind of rough. I mean, honestly, like I relate a lot to Steve, your intro here coming into this podcast of like, well, I'm hanging in there because frankly, that's kind of how I think a lot of photographers are feeling right now. With everything being upended, our entire industry being kind of put on notice that things are on pause, and my roots will always be in photography. So it's been rough to kind of watch so many friends go through what we're all walking through, and just experiencing it from the community side has been interesting, and doing everything that we can to help. And that's kind of what I think brought us to actually hop on the podcast today. But I'm hopeful, but it's been hard.
Yeah, HoneyBook. So HoneyBook, let's set up how this whole podcast episode came to be. So 2 weeks ago, HoneyBook called me just to check in because I use HoneyBook, and they just called to see if there's anything they could do, any way they could help. And I said, why don't we jump on a podcast? And I'm the extrovert here in the relationship, and I want to just hang out and talk and get to know people. And they said, we would love to get on a podcast. And then they're like, but we're all introverts, so we need Natalie to get on this podcast with you because she is the best podcaster in the world. And here we are.
Wow, you just keep raising this bar here, making it
rising tides.
You're raising the tide and raising the expectations, and I'm just sitting over here with my sparkling water, nervously anticipating your next question. No, I think that's kind of like what ultimately we've been doing as a company over the last couple of weeks, is reaching out to our members, both personally and at scale, with the community at scale, because the minute that, essentially President Trump got up there and said, hey, we don't want events larger than 10 people, everything changed. Our whole entire industry changed. And as a company, it really became apparent that the best way we could support our members was to stop doing business as usual and step into a season of having one singular goal, and that is save our members' businesses. So it looks like everything from, for example, anyone who was doing sales prior to that day in March is now doing support, is calling up our members and straight up doing what you experienced, Dustin, which was like, what do you need? What can we do? What are the pains you're feeling? And then bringing that back to the team. And from that information, we are, basically creating content, working with lawyers to create legal clauses, talking to communications experts, and building email templates. We're launching features like gift cards, which is something that we did based on a call, probably like the one that you had, where someone said, look, I need cash flow coming in the business. I can't go out and, photograph an event or do this project right now, but I need the ability to bring money in. And so it was an understanding of customer need and pain, and then a quick reaction from the product team. But we've been very busy. Actually, we've been busier in the last month than I've been in my last 4.5 years of working with HoneyBook. And wow. I'm very, 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 very proud of our team and how we've responded to this. And I may have a few more gray hairs, but it's worth it.
So let's back it up just a bit. Why an Amaretto Sour?
Oh, why not? It's so sweet. It's kind of like a Jolly Rancher, but in drink form, but then a little bit still smoky. So it has, what Dustin's referencing here is that there are two cocktails in my life.
I'm glad somebody is bringing this back to what Dustin is referencing, because I read what he wrote in our show notes and I was like, why did he write this in here? I have no idea.
So Steve, I have to preface, Steve typically writes our show notes. So I like to write them in ways that are a little bit more confusing for Steve. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure for him, where Steve is more of the type A, like very analytical, writes everything out in the most details, whereas I just throw a few bullet points out.
On the anal part of that, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, man, so curveballs all time.
Left and right.
Yeah, so there are two drinks in my life. One is the drink that I order when I want to impress somebody, and the other drink is what I actually want to order. And what Dustin was alluding to is that I actually want to order an Amaretto Sour. But what I end up often ordering is a vodka tonic or like a gin and tonic. And that's just sort of like my go-to. And sometimes I'll be real fancy and I'll be like Hendrix, Wow. But I know. It's intense, but that's really when I'm trying to impress. But in reality, I want something sweet. And
so because you have that on your website, do you ever sit down with somebody at like a formal meeting or get together and you order your vodka tonic and they just say, no, it's okay. You don't have to impress me. Get the Amaretto Sour.
At times. Although I will say I kind of need to update that page, because since that time in my life, I've discovered good Pinot Noir. And so I've kind of become an old woman. Like I've left, the youth of my
bag of it in your purse or something.
20 behind. I mean, yeah, cases and cases of this amazing wine called Seven Deadly Zins.
Oh.
It's technically a Zinfandel, but it drinks more like, I think, a Pinot Noir, but it is my favorite wine. And yes, I kind of feel like it's time, like maybe the Amaretto Sour version of me is like TikTok. And I'm kind of emerging into more of a LinkedIn phase of my life.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
So what would be after a LinkedIn phase? If we're talking like the succession of your life?
I don't know.
Back to MySpace? Do we like
death? Death.
Okay. So much doom and gloom. So much.
That's so dark.
When you can't work anymore, that's all that's left in life for you. Just slowly going to the grave. Maybe grandchildren. I don't know.
The grave to grandchildren?
I don't know, man. Things are crazy right now. But, I think if you do have grandchildren, then a good drink for you is like maybe you just cut a Capri Sun top off and pour some vodka straight in that, I actually saw this beautiful thing about a lady who was taking Capri Suns, pop the straw in, take a little drink out, put a little funnel in. You can put some alcohol in your Capri Sun, and then you use like a candle or something to heat it up and reseal it. So then you can bring your Capri Suns to football games or whatever and
just see
get your drink
accidents happening with this, where little Tommy picks that up at soccer practice, and then it's just.
Oh, yeah, it's a truly horrible idea for anyone with children.
See, that's where my mind
children.
went. As a mom, I was like, no. That is an accident waiting to happen. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So let's talk quickly about you, Natalie, because we really don't care about HoneyBook. Just kidding. Listeners out there, we love HoneyBook. We'll get there. But I want to know how you went from powerhouse wedding photographer extraordinaire, dominating the Annapolis, Maryland market and beyond, to setting your camera down, so to speak, to empower other photographers and want to leverage more of the education side of the space.
Yeah. So, I photographed full time for about 5 years before Rising Tide kind of came into the picture. And what happened there was, as I built my business, as it grew, and I established sort of a presence in my hometown, I recognized just how lonely it really was to be in this industry. And I should even preface this by saying the photography industry at that time already had communities. We were sort of the most social of the creative sphere. However, the minute you stepped outside of photography, it was very, very rare, especially in the wedding industry space, to just see this natural coming together of different community groups. An event planner sitting with an event planner, or a florist hanging out with a florist. There was this underlying belief in competition and that we couldn't actually come together and support one another. And so what I tried to do and have been working on over the last 4.5 years is to really redefine what competition looks like in a creative space. And what I mean by that is not that competition doesn't exist, not that it is a bad thing even necessarily. Competition is actually a performance enhancing drug of sorts. It changes our neurochemistry, and it can actually create this momentum and fuel and fire for our innovation and for, going out and creating and building, and there's so much good that comes from it when it's rightly ordered, when it's not driving all of our decisions. And unfortunately, with, these changes in technology and modern society and how we engage with one another, we've become very, very isolated. Like, we feel as though we're connected, right? We hold a phone in our hand and we say we're more connected than ever before. But yet we're actually seeing, in my opinion, this slow degradation of true relationship and connection and community being replaced with kind of like a vanity version of it. And so what happens in those types of scenarios is the competition, especially, being a woman, like especially amongst women, can get very nasty. I mean, it can get very, very all-consuming. Comparison sort of overtakes where maybe connection would have been before. And in an industry that is very much saturated and is very much, it's hard. It's hard to make it as a full-time photographer. It's hard to make it as a full-time creative. Those competitive bonds can really start to wear on us in so many different facets of life. So what ultimately, Rising Tide Society is all about, and why it sort of came about, is my hope and the hope of many, many other local leaders that are a part of our community. We have over 400 groups now around the world, and that's led by leaders and co-leaders that kind of man all of those groups, is to essentially put people before competition, to acknowledge that as business owners, we're going to compete in the marketplace. That's how things work. But at the end of the day, we don't need to tear other people down in order to, exceed ourselves. We don't need to, race and spiral to the bottom. There is a world where we really can raise the tide and have high standards of business, operate with integrity, hold one another up and hold one another in high regard, and move forward as a community, as a creative community. And so that's really what led me from the practice of shooting into the community building work that I do today. And after launching Rising Tide, we created, myself, my husband, two co-founders here in Annapolis, created this community very much as a passion project. This was something that, we were shooting full time, that was paying our bills, but this was our heart and this is kind of our mission. And as it grew and as it scaled from 12 people at a table in Annapolis to, hundreds of cities and tens of thousands of people, we ultimately wanted to find a path to sustainability for the community. And we didn't want to charge for meetups. I didn't want to sell education. I think that a lot of people go that route, and that's amazing. We wanted to find some other way to make the community a sustainable thing that could live on, could continue to serve and continue just to scale and grow. but also didn't create a barrier to the educational resources and didn't create a barrier to the community, because we felt like that was so important. And so we started looking for partners and sponsors, and we took on different corporate sponsors, and we were trying to find a monetization path, and that ultimately is what led us in the beginning to HoneyBook and to connecting with the HoneyBook team and to getting to know their vision and their mission for the creative industry. And essentially what I ended up realizing was that both Rising Tide and HoneyBook were trying to achieve the same vision of the future. We were just tackling this entire problem from two different perspectives. Where Rising Tide was trying to create community and free access to education in order to lift the creative industry, HoneyBook saw a world where technology could take work off of the plate of the creative to empower them to actually get back to doing what's going to move the needle in their business. And, sitting around filling out contracts and, handling invoicing and constantly manually updating your business practices, right, internally in your workflow, it's not going to drive your business forward if you could have spent that 8 hours, that day doing other activities and leveraging your superpower, leveraging your creative genius, or investing back into your clients. And so we were trying to solve something similarly, but from different angles. And so ultimately what we ended up doing was joining forces and becoming one company and one team.
So you bought out HoneyBook?
No, we kind of the other way around. We were acquired by HoneyBook.
Okay.
Yeah, Rising Tide was we almost went the nonprofit route and registered as a formal nonprofit, but didn't. We don't generate revenue of any kind. Any kind of money we've ever made has been donated. We've donated over $130,000 to date.
Wow.
And continuing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What have you seen, just speaking about Rising Tide real quick, what have you seen like Rising Tide accomplish? Like what success stories have you seen come from that community? Because I can speak to just how important that is, because when I moved back here to where I am now in my hometown of Fort Wayne, that was a similar case. Like there was like a monthly little meetup. Wasn't affiliated with Rising Tide, but it was just local photographers that met up. But then a couple like stabbed each other in the back, and so then it all like fell apart. And then there was this like huge distrust amongst the local wedding vendors to ever get up and get back together again, because everyone was like, well, I'm afraid to like have a glass of bourbon and like talk crap about a wedding, and then someone's going to turn around and use that against me in a bridal consult. And so it took me a long time to kind of break down those mistrusts and barriers and sort of filter the people that we allowed to meet up. But then I felt like I was being very exclusive in terms of who I was allowing and who I wasn't. And I'm just wondering, what success stories you've heard through the different meetups and the different groups and the connections that your members are making.
Yeah. So first I want to say, I think one of the misconceptions about community is that in general, it's a kumbaya experience, and that creating community is this beautiful and easy and seamless thing, when in reality, as human beings, we are all very complex, and we bring to the table, each of us, our baggage, our trauma, our hardships that we're dealing with at home and in the professional space. And so when you get a room of, 10 entrepreneurial types together, it's actually quite a feat, because, it's a very challenging thing to do week over week, month over month, despite the fact that when we say the word community, I think sometimes we might get the wrong impression of what that really means. Community for a lot of us is very much strongest in the struggle, and not necessarily strongest in seasons of prosperity. So it's actually times like these when we really need our community, when we really need to have people in our corner that we can lean on, that can help us, and also that will come alongside us and fight with us for, different things that we need as business owners, different things that we need as people. So that's the first thing I want to say. In terms of success stories, though, look, I really believe that our individual net worths are sort of a combination of our relationships and our networks. That as business owners, it isn't so much even what we know, but it very much becomes within our industries who we know. Now, I don't know if that transcends into the creative space. I think creative is very different. But when we're talking business, I do think that there is a lot of value in business to deepening those relationships, continuing to expand them. And there is nothing wrong with having your core inner circle group. I think that that is really important. So things that we've seen, we've seen podcasts launched and created out of two people meeting in Rising Tide. We've seen, people being able to move across the country because of Rising Tide, leave one city, go to another city, immediately have a home and a family to welcome them in their hometowns. We've actually even seen really wild things. Like one time there was a woman who was attending her ex's wedding and didn't have a date. This is a true story. Her date dropped out at the last minute. So she went in the group and asked if anyone knew, jokingly, an eligible single man. And the community rallied and found her one of the Bachelor contestants from Canada, donated enough money collectively and flew him from Canada to, I believe, Texas to attend the wedding with this woman so that this creative wouldn't have to go alone to her ex's wedding. So I'm talking about, businesses helping businesses, but also just people coming together and having each other's backs and looking out for each other. We've had groups, do an immense amount of philanthropic activities, from supporting members going through a really hard time to volunteering in their local communities to rallying for, right now we have a petition. We're trying to rally for a change in the Paycheck Protection Program legislation. So it really depends. I think it's multifaceted. Some of it's humorous and fun. Some of it is more deep and heartfelt. But I think the greatest success that has come out of Rising Tide are the relationships that have been forged, both within the community, but almost more importantly, once people leave their Tuesdays Together meetup, once they leave the Facebook group, what they actually take with them, for me, is success. If they take a relationship away, that is to me, my success metric.
I love that. As the leader sort of Rising Tide, do you attend a Tuesdays Together group? Do you have your own community around you? And do you find support from that community?
I do. I've lived in two cities during my time leading Rising Tide. So obviously Annapolis, where I'm calling you from, is actually where we started Rising Tide. And then about a year and a half, it was about a year in, moved to San Francisco. Well, it was a year and a half. Moved to San Francisco and then attended out there for a while. Additionally, we just over the last couple of months really finished our trip right before all of this happened. But from January to March, my husband, my now toddler son, and I drove from Maryland down all the way to Florida, then all the way across the country, then up the coast of California, like a giant U. And we hit up 14 different Tuesdays Together groups on that track and actually got to connect with everybody in person, which was just amazing. So,
all on Tuesdays? Or did you have to kind of be like, hey guys, we're going to be in town. You mind doing this on Thursday?
Yeah, we had to maneuver some of the meetings around the driving schedule, but they were amazing. They were absolutely unbelievable and all very different. I mean, it was in Charlotte, North Carolina. We met in a brewery. In Miami, we were dancing salsa under the stars. In, Austin, it was this cool wedding venue. Jacksonville, Florida was a converted horse barn for the fire department that they turned into a co-working space. And, each of these cities is so incredible. And so, it was really cool to get to go and to spend time with people face to face in person. Really just a breath of fresh air, I think, from, what I think a lot of us are feeling now, which is that longing for community and that absence of face to face connection, that I really hope, as much as even Skype and Zoom tries to accomplish that, I really hope that we can bring back into our lives sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Especially for us extroverts. So where does the hat of Rising Tide merge with the hat of head of community for HoneyBook? Because they feel, from what you're saying, very interwoven. And I'm just wondering how you sort of separate those two roles.
Yeah. I mean, truthfully, I think it has been an evolution, you know, from when we first joined forces. Everything felt very separate. It was Rising Tide over here, HoneyBook over there. And we've worked really hard over the past couple of years to continue to slowly bring those two roles closer and closer together. And so, you know, at the end of the day, my job very, very much simply is to, you know, educate, empower, and equip creative entrepreneurs in their businesses. And so on the HoneyBook side, that looks like our HoneyBook members. So that's anybody that is using the platform that is, you know, trying to grow their business, to streamline their workflow, get work off their plate. And that has looked like doing things like launching a small business accelerator that we called Upward. We did 2 full cohorts last year and created an awesome curriculum for business owners to kind of better understand what does it really take for a business owner to go to the next level? Like, what does scale look like for a service provider? And actually, what's been interesting even in the past couple of weeks is hearing from some of those members of the HoneyBook community that took part in Upward that have come back and said, like, I'm so glad I set up 3 streams of revenue then, because right now my service revenue is gone. And so again, like, becoming more aware of, okay, as a community builder, how am I equipping our members to know that, you know, one stream of revenue actually could put them at risk, you know, to understand that there are other ways for them to leverage their knowledge, their expertise, their creative abilities to generate more revenue. And that's something actually that I've been doing over the last couple of weeks, is sitting down with photographers just like this and saying, hey, look, you actually have a really incredible skill set and sort of a genius superpower that other people don't have. And it's not that in order to make passive revenue or additional streams of revenue, you have to go out and become an educator, because that's not true. There are ways to do that simply by using your talents, and then equip both HoneyBook members and beyond the scope of HoneyBook members, which is kind of where we move into Rising Tide, that wider audience with those tools and those resources. So it very much is an overlap day to day, and where I get to step in and support, you know, really varies based on what the needs are. So there are times where I'm in the product and I'm actively looking at new features that are rolling out. I'm actively giving feedback to our product team. I'm listening to the feedback I'm hearing in the community and being that advocate internally to say, you know, this feature I'm going to fight for because I've seen this person and this person and this person asking for it over this other feature, right? And for me to help be that voice internally. And then on the flip side, externally, it also looks like making sure that when we, you know, come out with something new, which we're doing frequently, or launching, you know, a resource, that it gets into the right hands, that the community knows where it is, how to use it, how to access it, and to give us critical feedback and positive feedback that I can take and then continue to improve.
So, you work at HoneyBook.
I do.
Why should I?
Really, Dustin? Really hitting you with the hard questions now. You also work with Rising Tide, I believe? And
yes.
You live in Annapolis. Can we confirm
This is all
that?
just a preamble for us to get to know you, so then we could set our questions. So now this is the real show, right?
It's been a long quarantine.
I just want to know quickly, in a nutshell, why should people use HoneyBook? Like, obviously, you've drank the Kool-Aid. You love HoneyBook. I use HoneyBook. Why should people use it?
Wow. Is that really what it's come down to right now?
Yes.
Natalie uses HoneyBook. Dustin uses HoneyBook.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Look, put really simply, I've never met any other company in the industry that has fought this hard to protect small businesses ever. Period. The end. So for me, it's about, you know, a company truly at the end of the day is the people. It's the people who are behind the product, and the human beings behind HoneyBook are some of the most incredible people that I've ever known. Both our team here in the United States and in Tel Aviv, just incredible, incredible people. So, you know, I think that one of the things we talk about a lot internally is this larger understanding that at the end of the day, our goal truly is to help business owners to rise together doing what they love. And in certain seasons, that's going to look like us selling HoneyBook and like trying to sell the product. In seasons like this, that looks like setting aside our goals for acquisition and instead stepping up and saying, okay, business owners can't rise together doing what they love. They can't build a life on passion and purpose if they aren't in business. And so that means that what we need to do in this season is going to look very different. And I've never seen a company do that. I've never seen a company truly put people first above profit, not just when it's easy, but when a lot is on the line, when it's really, really hard. And, you know, even to know internally the conversations that we have about what more we want to do, what more we can do every single day. it blows me away having come from the other side of this, right? Having been a photographer myself. So, I think that every single person listening to this who has a CRM or is considering a CRM, you've got to find the one that's the right fit for you. Period. I hope it's HoneyBook. I want it to be HoneyBook so you can join our family, right? Hang out with Dustin and I. Like we are cool. I mean, we're a little, we're all right. Come hang with us. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think it's a bigger vision of ensuring that everyone finds a fit that really works for them, because the worst thing that could happen is that you have no system and your business does start to succeed. And suddenly you hit that point where, you weren't prepared. You didn't set yourself up for success. And then you're overwhelmed. You're burnt out. You're struggling. You're dropping the ball. You're double booking yourself. We've heard those stories. We know people that have been in those shoes. So for me, it's just really important. I think that all small businesses know that whether it's HoneyBook or any other product, that they're finding a system that really works for them. They're finding a company that really has their back and isn't just saying it, that really, really does at the end of the day want to fight for them, want to protect them, want to support them. And I believe that we do a really good job of that.
Are you converted, Steve? Steve, are you converted?
Join us, Steve. Join us.
Join us.
Oh man, unfortunately, I don't make all the CRM decisions in our business. It's there's two people involved in this business, and
some call that a marriage.
Some call that a marriage. Yeah. Co-business owners, co-marriage owners, whatever you want to call it. You mentioned earlier that you fight for features in the HoneyBook product. I was just curious. One of our listeners, Kenzie Ray McMullen, said that she loves the new gift card feature you guys instituted recently. And she was wondering if there are any new features that you're fighting for to try to get in the product this year, if you can talk about that.
Yes. So the gift card feature is actually a really good example, because that was one that came straight from user feedback and was like an immediate, okay, product team, go. And they started rushing to kind of figure out, how do we do it? How do we do it well? How do we really brand it to each business so they can make it their own? There are some massive shifts coming to the product in a really powerful way. What I can tell you, because I can't say probably as much as I want to, but what I can.
This is just three people hanging out.
Just three people hanging out. I'm sure. No, look, I can tell you this. Our vision and our dream would be for a service-based business, like a photographer, like all of us, to be able to create a workflow such that someone could inquire, book, sign a contract, and do it all while you're sleeping, in a world where you've actually set all the parameters to pre-qualify them as a client. Meaning,
can you guys set it up so HoneyBook shoots the wedding for me too? Or
we're working on that. That's sort of a proprietary process
called HoneyTog.
That we'll come out with later. But that really is the vision. I think we really want to free people up to do more of what they love. So we're not even thinking at this point about, well, yes, we have these very specific features that are coming out, but it's a larger understanding of how do we change the way that this entire process even works. Is there actually a better way versus how do I add one feature to solve one problem? It's a larger question. Things in the past, like scheduling was a big one, that we really worked to push through. It's hard to even remember pre-COVID.
What about this idea? What about this idea? This could be like a sister company to HoneyBook. We're going to call it, let's say, HoneyPot. And the idea would be like a Tinder for wedding professionals. So you don't get to know any information about the wedding professional. You just swipe left or swipe right based on their profile pic, or it could be like a wedding photo they've taken. You get one photo to judge them on, and then you look at your matches, and boom, your wedding is planned.
So it's basically the shoot and share photo contest meets Tinder. I don't know. We'll think about it. It is funny that we have had many requests for like dating apps, network relationship apps from our members saying like, I want to meet more people in the industry. How can you pair us together? I don't know.
I want to meet more people in the industry and also hook up with them. We might make a beautiful relationship and a beautiful business partnership, or we might destroy everything and burn it all down. Who knows?
I feel like husband-wife
relationships
really
are crazy
in right now, and I just really need to meet someone to rebrand.
Oh, gosh.
What else did some of the listeners want to ask, Steve?
Rebecca Elliott was curious about your morning routine.
Wow.
She's a big Natalie fan.
Oh, well, morning routine. These days, I don't need an alarm anymore because I have a 13-month-old. So
that will do it.
That's how I wake up. I wish I could say I get up at 5, I work out, and I drink kombucha. But really what happens is I hear the screams of my toddler across the hallway. I get up, I pick him up, I go downstairs and I make him breakfast. I turn on some Paw Patrol. The pediatrician did say I'm allowed to show him screen time now that we're in quarantine and everything's falling apart. So I have her blessing.
Everything's falling.
Just so you know, even if the pediatrician hadn't said that, we would not judge you. We both have had kids. We know how crazy and terrible it can be at times.
I still have kids. It's not.
You can get rid of yours
for me.
Oh man, but no, I make coffee, a lot of coffee, French press, and 2 eggs. That's literally my morning routine. Make sure baby's good.
Ooh, wait, 2 eggs. How you make those? How you make those eggs?
Okay, all right. I feel like I'm about to get judged. Okay, I feel
probably.
the judgment coming. I used to scramble them, and I had a cheese situation that I would, I had my routine with these really cheesy scrambled eggs. I don't even have time to worry about it anymore. I crack them in the pan. They're either way too overcooked or the yolk is so runny that it's just a disaster because I'm not patient enough to turn the heat down, to let them slowly get to that perfect, over medium vibe. It's kind of just whatever happens that day. So this morning they were overcooked. Yesterday they were too runny. I'll get back to you.
Experiment.
It's a giant egg experiment for sure. Yeah.
My wife bought a little machine, and you add water to it, you crack the eggs, you throw them in the machine, and then you just hit the button, and when it's done, it makes a noise.
Chicken pops
and it's perfect every single time.
Wait, is that for okay, I used to have a hard-boiled egg maker that you could put your eggs in and you hit it, and 12 minutes later you have 6 hard-boiled eggs and they're perfectly hard-boiled. My husband still makes fun of me for buying that. He thinks it's the most useless invention of all time, but I loved it.
Yeah.
It made my life easier.
I was in a house this morning, off topic here. I was in a house this morning working.
You don't want to talk about eggs, Dustin?
No, tangentially related. And I was just thinking about people who buy things like that. And they had their whole basement had this, steel shelving, and it was all boxes and devices that were those as seen on TV, the pizza wave oven and the egg maker and 15 different waffle makers. And I was wow, these guys really, really were invested in different food creation devices.
Were they really invested, or did they have a mom or a grandma who was really invested and they just didn't know how to throw stuff away or give it away? Because I feel it's probably that one where somebody's gifting them this stuff.
I prefer to live in a world where they were obsessed with different food creation devices, like the waffle hot dog maker, or
the slap chop.
Disgusting.
The slap chop. We all remember that. The slap chop. I'm trying to think of what else. No.
There have been a few not conventions, that's not the right term, but where they come to a local hotel conference room and and I hear them on the radio come on down, you have to see these new pots and pans. And my wife's dad, who's not too far watching my children while I do this, he's a sucker for those things. He'll get coupons from work to go to these.
No, and really give it to your father-in-law. Come on, Dustin.
He's a long-time listener of the show.
What horrible things do you want to say on this podcast about your father-in-law?
And he'll invite my wife along. He's oh, you got to come check out these pots. They don't stick. And I'm Gene, I think all pots don't stick now. I think that's a thing. But he's no, these ones really don't stick. And I'm okay, all right.
No, he would be onto something there, because they start out not sticking, and then a month or two later they stick. And it's okay, I guess I'm just back to dumping oil all over the bottom of this pot or this pan so that my stuff never sticks.
Yeah, my daughter comes in when I'm cooking eggs, and she's Daddy, I thought we were having eggs. I'm yeah, this is oil before the eggs. She's no, Daddy, I don't want eggs with oil. And I'm this is how I keep them from sticking to the pan. Should have got the pans when Papa went to the freaking hotel.
Dude, just put a little bit of butter on there. That's better than oil.
Yeah.
Taste-wise, anyway.
Olive oil, baby.
Rebecca Elliott had another question for you, Natalie. She was curious what your pet peeves are in the industry.
Oh, that is a good one. In the industry.
Did she say which industry, Steve?
I think it was construction. Yeah.
Construction.
Yeah. Look, I think my biggest pet peeve in general in the industry is the way people talk to each other on the internet. It really genuinely bothers me. I think that I see a lot of like gossip and negativity, and it sometimes feels like, people tear one another down longer than, or more often than they build each other up. And that always bothers me. But I should even say this, when I was a photographer, I was never really one for the gossip. Some people can get really into that and like love it, and their entire Facebook group's dedicated towards like what's happening now and who did what wrong and oh my gosh, who are we going to go after today? With the exception being photo stealing. That I understand. Like when someone steals somebody else's work.
Right. Yeah.
That always got me. But yeah, I think that would be my pet peeve. Otherwise, I think that look, I really love and welcome new photographers. I think that they keep the industry constantly evolving and changing and innovating, and they challenge a lot of us to improve and do better and do differently without that constant influx of new ideas and new people coming in. And, ultimately, the industry would be the way it was in 2007, which looks nothing like it looks today. And that's kind of when I started. I remember, looking back, like how different it truly was. So I know sometimes
she says that, Steve, and makes it sound like it's so long ago. Like the most ancient people started in 2007.
That's when I started. I mean, I don't think it's ancient at all, but
that's when Steve and I started.
Yeah.
Wait, 2007. You said you started as a senior in high school, so you were a senior in high school in 2007?
Yeah, I was going into my senior year. Yeah.
Oh gosh. All right. So I'm the old one. Got it.
So Natalie and I are the same age.
Yep.
That's right. We are the cool ones.
I was graduating college in 2007. So wow.
Yeah. We have to have, just for our demo on this podcast, we have to have like the senior citizen demo covered. So that's why we have Steve on.
I'm a stand-in for the boomers,
Okay, boomer. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Natalie,
I derailed us.
During this time of pandemic and quarantine and everything, Rebecca was also wondering if you've had any recent small wins.
I like that one. Yeah, I mean, I think probably some of the biggest wins have come from in being sort of like having everything kind of toppled and changed, and what I thought we'd be doing, we're not doing in this season. It created a lot more space to do things I kept putting off or saying that I wanted to do or probably wouldn't have had time to do. So one of them is writing a book. And I'm working on a manuscript and, kind of crafting out a book at the moment, which I wouldn't have had time to do on my weekends.
What's the subject matter of the book? Is it like a creative endeavor? Is it
It's
more
about young
educational?
teenagers that find
How
an
comfortable
alien
do you feel sharing?
turn into animals.
Yeah, no, it's not Twilight, but sorry to let you down, Dustin.
Those books made a lot of money. Have you thought about writing a new Twilight?
Just
throwing that out there.
I might in another season of life. No, look, it's a business book about reframing competition and understanding, sort of how it fits into our relationships and our sense of belonging. So that is the premise of my book. But that's a win. That's probably a big win more than a small win. I would say a small win is, getting to experience more of the milestones with my 13-month-old than I probably would have otherwise. He walked and took his first steps, which was crazy. And, I got to be there. Whereas I think with any other season, if we weren't all together, living all together, and he would have been at daycare somewhere else, or I would have been over there, and instead we're all cooped up in one house. Literally, when I say that, I mean myself, my husband, our 13-month-old, my in-laws, like we're all together because we sold our house thinking this would be the year of being a nomad. Like truly, we have no house. And
you're
so
the opposite of a nomad.
It was the opposite. But have you seen the meme? This is a little off topic, but I think you guys can relate to this. Have you seen the meme that says, "What did you do to cause the pandemic?" And someone's like, "I finally set up a retirement account." Someone's like, "I opened, a boutique, or I opened my photo studio and thought I'd have people come in and visit me." And it's like, now we can't go out of our homes.
Oh, there's a pandemic.
Yeah, I chose home as my word of the year.
Yeah. It's a good one.
That did it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we started a retirement account.
Yep. That'll do it.
Now it's gone.
Yep. I think a lot of people are with you on that, though. You're not alone. Not alone at all. Yeah, but those are some wins. It's been, it's definitely been really hard, and it's been kind of a tough season. And personally, the way I tend to cope with really hard situations is I throw myself into work. It's just how I operate. Some people need to take space. They need to take time away. I almost do the opposite. I dive in head first. So it's been a lot of working, but also a lot of little moments of joy, with, I think, my son primarily and him growing up. It's crazy.
Is your husband still working?
Yes. Yeah. We're both just working from home. We're trying to figure it out as best we can. Living with our in-laws has been really great to have childcare and have help.
Yeah.
At certain points in the day. My mother-in-law is a saint, and she'll just swoop in.
Is he co-head of community, or does he have a whole different career, whole different thing, or?
Yeah, whole different career, whole different thing. He's the head of marketing for his family's tech company.
Okay. I thought you were going to say a different CRM, really just dividing and conquering.
No.
Just really hedging our bets here.
Yeah.
So if we have some time and you have some desire, we have some kind of weird questions from the internet.
Sure.
If you want to tackle them with us.
Let's do it. We got a little bit of time left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Let's start with Allie from a random Facebook group. Ask the following. What do you do when you catch someone who is using your magazine published elopement image to represent sales for their workshop?
You send it to photostealers.com.
Boom. Straight to calling them out. I love it. It's so harsh.
I don't think so. You don't steal someone's work. You can't do that.
And then is that it? Is that all you do? Is you send them to Photo Stealers and wash your hands of it, or do you track them down? Natalie, do you find out where they live?
Yeah,
do you attend their workshop?
Not really my style. No. I mean, honestly, I probably wouldn't do either of those things. I probably would send them an email and be like, hey, girl, just want to let you know what you're doing is wrong. But yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you could do a whole thing where you put a fake mustache on, you sign up for the workshop, you get there, and then you're like, aha, this is my photo. A big reveal in front of everyone. Maybe a PowerPoint presentation to go with the reveal, and some jazzy music to really underline how impressive it is that you pulled this whole thing off.
Maybe the Tom Cruise type come down from the ceiling.
This is very elaborate. This is becoming very, very elaborate.
So now you want a Mission Impossible the reveal.
Mission Impossible the reveal, absolutely.
All right. Jacques from a random Facebook group asked, I signed up for a workshop because the guy teaching it posted the dopest photos. I'm all paid in full and ready to go next week. But someone left comments on the guy's Insta that he was buying stock photos. I did a reverse image search, and the photos were stock photos. But they were stock photos being sold by someone with a name very similar to the instructor. Not the instructor's name on their site or Instagram, but very similar. I don't want to give it away in case I'm wrong and it's legit, but it was Brent versus Brett. Now I'm questioning whether or not I should even go. Am I overreacting, or should I dig deeper?
These are very weird questions. You weren't kidding.
Really go to the bottom of the barrel for these.
Yeah, look, if this person already bought a ticket, I would just, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I'd probably dig deeper. That is quite a perplexing one.
I guess I've never been in a position where I sign up for a workshop in a fleeting moment, right, where I'm like, oh, look at that photo. Oh, he's got a workshop. Yeah, I've got nothing going on this Saturday. I'm just going to go to that. It's I follow this person on social media, and all of a sudden I see they're going to be talking at something. I'm like, oh, I'll go see that. And then they're like, oh, they're having a workshop next year. I should go learn from them.
How about you're just sitting at home, you get a random phone call, and it's somebody on the other end, and they're like, hey, we're doing a workshop. And then they go into a sales pitch, and they just try to pressure you into signing up for this workshop for somebody you've never heard of before. Has that ever happened to you?
Has it happened to you, Steve?
I can't say it has. That sounds very personal. That sounds like a personal situation that's happened to you, Steve. I'm really sorry.
Steve, would you like to discuss that personal situation?
We're here for you, Steve.
No, I'm good. It's just, you never know when you give away your phone number on a website who that website will sell your phone number to. When they're like, you just got to give us your phone number to sign up, And the next thing you know, you're getting calls from all over the United States of America, from people with accents from all over the world.
I feel like we need to have a conversation with Steve about protecting your personal information. And
I learned that the hard way my freshman year of college. So like I'm old. So we actually had like a landline when I went to college, like in our dorm room. And so like, we went to Walmart, bought the little like plug-in phone so that my parents would always be able to call me. And first day of school, my roommate and I saw a flyer for free Subway subs. And we're like, boom, free food, Subway? Yes, please. Go to Subway. All you had to do was like fill out this like potential sign up for a credit card thing. You didn't ever have to get the credit card, but like you just had to sign up give your information. I was like, yeah, I'll sign up, whatever. Didn't think to like use fake information. I'm a very honest human being, as Steve knows. And so I just put the dorm room phone number on there because why wouldn't I want them to call me where I live? Like that just makes sense to me.
They're still calling that phone number to this day.
For the next 9 months, my roommate was the most angriest human being at me. At all hours, we would get calls, and he said, "You sold our souls for a Subway sub." And it was just like, now from
how did that sub taste though?
Yeah,
it was so good. Chipotle Southwest sauce. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
So I think we're going to have to wrap it up there because I know Natalie has places to go. Natalie, where can people find you online?
Yeah, so I would say, look, if you want to find out more about HoneyBook, at HoneyBook, honeybook.com, getting plugged in with a local group or a community, honeybook.com/rising tide, and you can find your local group really easily there from the menu. Also happy to help at any point personally, just at Natalie Franke on Instagram. But yeah, gentlemen, thank you for having me. Quite a riveting conversation, everything from eggs to slap chop to, almost doing like a little therapy session with Steve and his experiences being sold a workshop too. This was a really good episode.
What this podcast is about. It's really just unpaid therapy for Steven.
I'm all for it.
Natalie, real quick before you go, is there anything you would recommend to our listeners that they check out during quarantine? Just something not necessarily work related, but just, something fun.
Gilmore Girls, something like that.
Yeah. So what I would say is if you have already looked at all, because we have actually done a lot of really awesome resources and webinars on the work side. So after you've already browsed all of those, I did something that I kind of swore I would never do. And I've eaten my words, but I created a TikTok. I would say create a TikTok and watch videos of animals like dogs, cats. Oh my gosh, some of the cutest, most ridiculous stuff I've ever seen. It will truly just make your heart melt. But what I'll also say is beware, because you open TikTok and 5 hours of your life go by, and then you open your eyes and you're like, what just happened? Where have I been?
The Pinterest of 2020.
It's it may even be worse.
You opened TikTok and you were a youth, and now you're an old.
Now you're on LinkedIn. Is there like a little function at the end of TikTok? There's like, I'm so sorry, we are now redirecting you to LinkedIn.
Yeah, you're too old. It basically told me that when I tried to sign up. Instead of a minimum age requirement, it was like, sorry, boomer, you are officially too old to use this. No, I'm just kidding. But that would be my recommendation. Something fun. Fun videos, connecting with people. Yeah. Listening to this podcast, of course.
Of course. That's the whole reason we do this. It's just for the people stuck in quarantine that can blare this around their home to all of their family.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Natalie, and have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
If there's anything we can ever do for you, let us know.
All right, will do.
Have a good one. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
If you love the show, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you want to connect, we're at Wedding Photo Hangover on Instagram. Dustin is at Dustin_McKibben, and I'm at Stephen Van Elk. We have an awesome Facebook group you should join. Just search for Wedding Hangover. If you want more content, head on over to the Patreon by going to StephenDoesn'tSaveTheWorld.com, which will redirect you to patreon.com/WPHS. Though, and there you can sign up for all the great content we've been putting out. We have a year's worth now, a full year, Dustin. Can you believe that? A year's worth of the Stephen Doesn't Save the World podcast.
So there for you. You're at home, you're quarantining. How fast can you get through a year's worth of content?
Well, those episodes are only 15 to 30 minutes a piece.
So
There's
2
been
days.
A few that have gone 45, but yeah, they're mostly pretty small, short episodes. So they'll keep you busy. Like if you just need something while you're washing dishes one night or something like that. It's
pulling
good.
weeds outside.
Yeah, just trying to drown out the sound of your children screaming. Yeah, good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time your head is pounding, your limbs feel like dead weight, and your entire being aches for the sweet embrace of death. That's right. Next week, after you probably don't shoot another wedding because of the pandemic.
Maybe shoot a wedding. Maybe shoot another wedding.
Nope.
Someday.
Nope.
Eventually.
All my weddings got canceled already. So even if they lifted the pandemic today, I wouldn't be able to shoot a wedding.
Ever.
Well, until August.
Jeez. Merry Christmas. In brighter news, I know several people who have gotten SBA loans or grants. Still not quite clear if it's a loan or a grant yet.
You've been granted a loan. That is correct.
You've been granted.
The SBA loan works much like the PPP, where it is a loan, but the money you use for paychecks for employees is a grant. So if you use all of your SBA loan to pay your employees' paychecks, and there's a few other things other than just employee paychecks that is grant,
like business utilities and keeping the lights on, so to speak.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's very similar to the PPP, except it's for different types of businesses than what the PPP is for, basically.
Gotcha.
Did you apply for the SBA? Did you get money?
Applied for the SBA, got some money. And yeah, but I didn't get like an email or any kind of notification letting me know like, hey, we gave you some money. Mm-hmm. Here's what that means for you. I just got a call from a fellow photographer who was like, hey, I got some money from the SBA. What does that mean? I'm like, I have no idea. They're like, did you get some? And I'm like, I don't think so. I didn't get an email or anything, and checked my bank account, and sure enough, there was money in it. And I was like, where did this come from?
Nice. You gotta love when money just shows up in your bank account.
Yeah. But hey, that was a great talk with Natalie. That was super fun. Mm-hmm. Enjoyed getting to know her, getting to know a little bit about Rising Tide and HoneyBook. Now I can cancel my subscription with them because we've had them on the show.
Yeah, that's how it works, right? You don't need a CRM anymore, do you?
I mean, why would I? We're not going to ever have weddings again, probably.
Never again, bud. Never again. Oh.
Could you imagine running a subscription type service, like an editing company, where you rely solely on people shooting weddings, having events? Like, I never really thought about it from that side.
Why? Why didn't you think about it from all angles?
Well, I mean, like we tried to see if our editing company would put our account on pause through this, and they said no.
Yeah. See, I think one of the first things I thought of was that because we had just had Ryan Welch from Freedom Edits on, and because Jen and I also, run our own boutique editing service, and just thinking about
how's Ryan doing through this? Have you?
He posted a bunch of stuff to his Instagram right when the pandemic hit, where he was like, "And this is all the alcohol I bought for the pandemic," and it made me laugh really hard. He's got a great sense of humor. I like that guy a lot. Dustin, what have you been up to? Anything new?
Just doing virtual tours, doing real estate stuff. Just trying to stay alive, trying to keep the bills paid.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it. I need to find, so like similar to like what Natalie said, like when craziness happens, like I go into like worker bee mode where I just like throw all my energy into generating revenue, because I don't know when revenue will stop being able to be generated, or when like wedding money will come in again. So it's like
very smart.
And then I realized my wife the other day was like, you haven't really spent a lot of time with the family lately. And it like kind of hurt me, kind of like really got me in the innards. So I need to reevaluate sort of my work-life balance. I think even through this, because in your mind, you're like, we're quarantined, we're all home, but we're not all home if I'm at my computer editing or I'm out shooting all morning. And
yeah,
so... Because in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything on the weekends, at least. But how about you? What's going on with Van Elk? I get always told by my wife like how uncreative or non-creative we are with all of the fun activities that your wife comes up with for your kids to do. Especially like your Easter activities, like the little like throwing stuff in the cup.
There's like another world where Jen was probably like another universe where she was like a teacher or maybe like a party planner or something. Like she's just full of great creative ideas and stuff. But recently we haven't done nearly as much just because Jen's had a migraine for 4 days straight. So, which that is one of the symptoms of her autoimmune disease is migraines. So. Yeah, it's not great. It's not the best thing that's ever happened in our lives, but hopefully she's on the up and up. She seems to be doing a little bit better today. Today we shot a video that I'm hoping to edit later tonight. So like right when this whole thing happened, we did like a newborn shoot, and by we I mean Jen, and that was like right before they put in like the shelter at home, stay home sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a few other people who we knew were having babies who had reached out to Jen about the possibility of shooting their newborns, and now that's not going to happen because, newborns now not going to happen. So we made like a video today, and by we made, I mean like I held a camera while Jen did all the real work. Ian and Nora helped out a little bit, kind of showing people how they could shoot their own newborn photos with their iPhones and stuff like that.
That's fun.
Yeah.
You guys making content.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where you can't do newborn photos later. It's a one-time thing. So it's one of those things where it's like, photos. Yeah. So just trying to make something happen for the people out there who are struggling with that right now.
Look at you guys. People, helping babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're all about helping babies. Helping people have babies, helping people shoot photos of their babies. It's a very babyful life over here. I love babies. Kids, not so much. Babies? Babies are so good.
Especially when they're not yours.
Yeah, especially when I'm not making modest proposal jokes about babies. Last week on the podcast. Did you understand that at all, or did that fly right over your head? I couldn't tell when we were recording.
I think that flew right over my head.
Okay. Jeez, I'm losing you. I'm losing all the... Everybody's like, why is Steve reading a modest proposal? Why does he find it so funny? And it's like, he's just eating babies. What's wrong with that? Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to cut this out because I don't think we want to put a thing about eating babies at the end of Natalie Franke's episode.
Probably not.
Yeah, she's a very nice person. Why would I do this to her?
Let's go back to eggs and chickens.
Yeah, eggs. What are they but unborn chicken babies? I'm gonna modest proposal all your eggs.
That's gonna do it.
So,
for us here at the wedding photo hangover.
That's gonna do it for us this week on the wedding photo hangover.
You already did that. Bit.
Yeah. All right, cool. So let's just say goodbye. Bye.
Bye, Steve.
Bye, bud. Wedding Photo Hangover was edited this week by Steve Van Elk of Bespoke Tone. Go to Bespoke Tone for all of your photo, video, and audio editing needs. Woo-wee!